There's obviously something to be said for establishing a brand. Tom Hanks is the world's favourite everyman. Johnny Depp is an idiosyncratic eccentric. Morgan Freeman plays wise men and God. And Adam Sandler has made a career out of being that guy in whatever kind of film you want Adam Sandler to make for you, movie. Now, they're very much typecasting examples worn consciously on actors' sleeves. But what of the actors who seem to have unintentionally gotten typecast in rather more specific and occasionally kind of weird ways? Well, in a previous iteration of this list, which you should also see if you haven't already, we've established that Ryan Reynolds keeps getting cast in body swap movies, and Brian Cox characters have created 3 assassins with amnesia. It seems that there are even more actors who repeatedly get cast in similarly coincidental ways. Hi, I'm Marcus Bronzy from What Culture, and well, I think they're almost ready. There you go. Here are 8 more actors who didn't know they were being weirdly typecast. Number 8. Christian Bale has a secret mirror identity. Given how compelling Bale is on screen, it's no surprise that filmmakers would try to take advantage of having as much scope for him to perform in their movies as possible. That's why he tends to be given roles that either require larger than life caricatures or which demand several layers of performance. Perhaps it's because he's so talented at slipping between these characters that he's carved himself a little niche of playing characters with a dark mirror identity. That happened first when American Psycho came out. His Patrick Bateman facade hid under his murderous underbelly, which followed in 2005 with his dual roles of Bruce Wayne and Batman. Batman. No, not getting any better at that. And the third example came with The Prestige, which took the double identity issue one step further with the whole twin deception thing. But in all 3 cases, the characters were defined by a split between one publicly acceptable identity and one living in the shadows. Clearly, he's got a knack for it. Number 7. Martin Freeman is a reluctant road tripper. The less charitable commenters on Martin Freeman's post-office career might suggest that he's a fairly limited talent whose wheelhouse includes looking at the camera in despair and generally being a bit of a lovable loser. Oi, leave him alone with that opinion. Look, that mentality is a little bit unfair, but it's not unreasonable to say that he does tend to play likeable figures. You're unlikely to see him play a straight villain, for instance. But stick around with his films long enough and you might get to see he's taken on some sort of road trip initially against his free will. He's after all the reluctant traveller in a company of others. Examples? Well, he played that part first in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Then he followed up similarly with Bilbo Baggins in The Hobbit and finished this strange trilogy of linked movies with Edgar Wright's The World's End. In all cases, he's basically coerced into joining a group of other characters against his better judgment, even though it's pretty clear he has no other choice. Number 6. Scott Adkins has really sore eyes. Some actors have really specific tropes in their acting careers, like Tom Hanks. He's always going to the toilet in his movies. Or Paul Rudd, always dancing. Or even Brad Pitt, who just eats. That's his thing. Brad Pitt is always eating, but none are quite as specific as that of Scott Adkins. At some stage in his career, a casting director seems to have looked at that hulking, kung fu specialist of an actor and decided he'd look really good, he'd look amazing. The perfect thing for him would be a major face injury. The marketing materials for Universal Soldier 4 split his forehead and brow open and bathed him in blood. Doctor Strange burned his eye sockets to a mystical ash, and when he stood in for Ryan Reynolds as Weapon X in X-Men Origins, yeah, you didn't know that, did you? That really is him. He had his eyes peeled just for perfect effect. Perhaps it's how he sells himself being a badass. Listen, hey, look, I'm so bad, just take away that character's eyes, yeah, and I'll still look kick-ass. Number 5, Rachel McAdams loves time travelers. It goes without saying that people tend to have a type when it comes to their romantic partners. Whether it's a physical trait or personality features, you're drawn to similar people for a reason. And the same clearly goes for characters played by Rachel McAdams in movies, because in her case, it's not brown hair or blue eyes that she goes for. No. It's not 6 foot or slim, six-pack or dad bod. No, it's not good conversation or physique either. It's actually the ability to time travel. Yep, You'd think that would be a horribly limiting thing to go for, but McAdams so far has managed to play the romantic interest for 4 separate time-travelling characters. The Time Traveller's Wife opposite Eric Bana, Midnight in Paris with Owen Wilson, In About Time as Donald Gleason's wife, and Doctor Strange as Benedict Cumberbatch's ex. That's such a strangely specific one that you have to think surely it can't be accidental. It's as if somebody went back in time just to make it happen. Number 4. Ed Norton has violent monsters inside him. As with Christian Bale, there's obviously something about Ed Norton that suggests to casting directors that he's well suited to playing characters with many layers. Even more specifically, it seems there's been a culture of him playing characters struggling with or hiding a violent monster inside them. In his very first film role for Primal Fear, Norton set out his stall early, playing an accused murderer, Aaron Stampler, whose abuse at the hands of a bishop led to the development of a multiple personality disorder, including an identity called Roy, who murdered his abuser. It ultimately ends up being a facade, but in all of the other cases here, there's an element of control to the changes Norton's characters undergo. Next up is American History X, where he sought to leave his violent past as a racist soldier of a neo-Nazi gang. And then he followed it up with Fight Club, in which his violent inner self exploded out as an entirely different figure in Tyler Durden. And then finally he played Bruce Banner, who was cursed by his hulky affliction. Number 3. Bruce Willis meets his former self. In the wake of his career-defining role as John McClane, Bruce Willis has wrestled with typecasting as Hollywood sought to cast him as everyman figures in Hollywood movies, usually facing increasingly insurmountable odds. That sort of ignores some of his better roles, but that's pretty much the point of typecasting, isn't it? It works from an audience point of view as well as the studio's. But the less well noticed is the fact that he's also been cast a few times as a character who meets his younger self in movies, and in every case, as you'd expect, he's supposed to learn some sort of lesson from the encounters. Not always good lessons either. The first time it happened was in 12 Monkeys in 1995, whose dark twist revealed that he'd witnessed his own death as a child. It then happened again in 2000's Disney's The Kid, when he met his younger self to learn how to be a better man. And then, in a return to a more harrowing form, in 2012's Looper, he met his younger self, who is charged with assassinating him. In all 3 cases, the younger versions end up imprinting on the elder. In 12 Monkeys, witnessing his own death shapes his entire life. In The Kid, he's taught to be a better person. And in Looper, well, he's literally wiped out of existence. Number 2. James Marsden loses his love interest to the hero. James Marsden can't catch a break. This poor guy, despite the fact that he's been in a lot of romantic comedies, Marsden also has a nice sideline in playing men who end up being passed over for the film's main male hero. In X-Men, his Boy Scout Cyclops is no match for the rugged charms of Wolverine, and he's unceremoniously killed off. In Superman Returns, he's rewarded for stepping in when Superman bails on his family by Lois Lane going back to Supes. In The Notebook, his fiancée chooses Ryan Gosling over him, and in The Enchanted, he loses his fiancée again, this time to Patrick Dempsey's cynical real worlder. I mean, in every case, it's not like he's even that bad an alternative for the women who leave him. He's just not as dangerous, edgy, or as much of a gamble, which should make him more of a draw. But apparently, someone in the casting agencies around Hollywood thinks he's got a good face for romantic rejection. Number 1. Leonardo DiCaprio, tragically dead wives. There must be something about being married to Leonardo DiCaprio's characters that stops them from passing away from natural causes. In 2010, DiCaprio was haunted by the spectres of not just 1, but 2 dead wives who had suffered with mental health issues in Shutter Island and Inception. And in both cases, his own mental condition was warped considerably by his interaction with those ghosts to the point of obsession and self-destruction. And then in The Revolutionary Road, the idyllic 1950s suburban setting is broken apart by the truth of DiCaprio's relationship with his on-screen wife, Kate Winslet. Their relationship and living conditions ultimately unravel, and she dies from a botched, self-administered abortion. In every case, the aftermath of his wives dying breaks DiCaprio's characters and changes him fundamentally, as you'd expect. So there you go, 8 more actors who didn't know they were being weirdly typecast. Now, I don't feel like this will be the last time we do this, so let us know what you think yours are, pop them in the comments below, and we'll see if they make them into our next installment. Now, For more awesome lists like this, please hit like and subscribe, and don't forget to give us a follow on the old Twitter too, @WhatCulture. You can find me on all social medias @Marcus Bronzy, spelled MarcusBronzy. See you next time.